I think it's interesting that May is Mental Health Awareness Month. I feel like every month should be Mental Health Awareness Month, right?
Yes. Just like we go to a doctor when, you know, you break a bone, for example, right? Like you just don't say to yourself like, "Oh, well, suck it up." Like you should be able to get through this. Like the way that some of us do when it comes to mental health. And just those things that we're going through it, and we're just like, yeah, I should just push through. You can continue to, you know, not honor the boundaries that you have or things like that. And, it's like you just grind, grind, grind. But that's not going to help you in the long run, And when we think about being able to talk to someone or being able to do some like deep healing work with someone, like that should be as commonplace as being able to go and see a doctor. Well, my name is Amber Creamer. I'm a licensed psychotherapist, and I help women who have experienced early childhood trauma be able to experience true freedom that they've never felt before. And I'm so passionate about this work, and I'm so glad that I'm able to spend some time talking with you about the importance of mental health today.
What are your recommendations for folks that really do need to go deep? They need intensive therapy. What is intensive therapy, and what are some of the tools that we might use, or you use with certain clients to go deeper?
Mhm. So, intensive therapy is a modality of therapy that really is on the cutting edge. And instead of going for 1 hour, or our therapeutic hour is about 45 minutes, going for 45 minutes a week, they're longer extended sessions. So it can be anywhere from 90 minutes to 6 hours. And the benefit of this is that you really are able to go deep and do that really restorative work because of the time that you have. You don't have to worry about like checking in, you know, really getting to the meat of the session, which is like about like 15, 20 minutes, and then having that time to close up so that, your client is able to go out into the world and, have everything put back together, you know? And so what I've noticed when I've worked in this type of a way is that my clients are able to progress so much quicker because of that format. And so this type of work isn't covered by insurance, which can be a barrier to receiving these services. But I believe that in the long term, you're going to save because you're not going to be going to therapy year after year after year. Like you're actually gonna go in there, have some intentional time to do this work, and then be able to like live your life and not be in this habitual relationship with your therapist. Because for me, like that's not what I'm wanting to do. Like I'm not wanting to be in therapy with people forever. Like I want you to get the tools that you need, do the work that you need to, and then go ahead and progress, right? Um, and you,
I want
oh,
to
go
pause
ahead.
on that because I
Yeah.
think that's really important because I hear a lot of people say, I've been in therapy for 10 years or
Mhm.
whatever, fill in the blank. And
Yeah.
I think that concept of, I'm going to use a word that I'm certain is not allowed in therapy, but, or you don't use, but fix, right?
Oh, yeah.
The underlying,
Hmm.
elements that are going on, versus having somebody to talk to for, years and years about what's happening in your life. I mean, those are two seemingly different concepts, or am I reading that wrong?
Yeah, I feel like there's like a very different I would say like feeling that it has. I mean, I definitely wouldn't say that like I'm in the business of fixing people. because I feel like people are whole and complete,
Yes,
but it's just about like
exactly. That's why I
returning
said this
to,
the minute the word came out of my mouth. I'm like, I know this is
yeah.
not the right word.
Yeah, definitely how it wouldn't be something I would describe it in that way, but we all know that. Um, but when it comes to like that type of relationship, like because of the way that someone is being seen by a therapist, they're being validated, they're being understood in a way that they may have not ever been understood or seen ever before in their life. um, it can be really tempting to say, okay, I don't want to leave this relationship because of the way that it helps to just affirm you. Um, but the from my perspective, the goal is to have that like that healthy holding space that's created within therapy to then be taken outside of the therapeutic space and then help the person establish those types of relationships outside of the therapeutic space, right? So that they can then build that support system and have that community around them that's really able to help them. And I mean, of course, like you can always come back to therapy. And I'm always a big advocate of always doing some sort of like internal work, but that doesn't mean that you may be working with the same therapist for a long period of time, because I also believe that each therapist has their own unique perspective and way of doing things, and so therefore it's like I know that I can only take people so far, and I do a very specific type of work. But if you need something else, I'm like, oh yeah, like I'll refer you to someone over here because I know that they do this very well. Right. And so it's like with each person, it's like it allows you to level up and learn new things about yourself and connect with different parts of yourself. And so I feel like that's missing when we're like, hey, it's been 10 years and I've been in therapy with the same therapist. Um, so there's space and room for
Makes sense.
growth and for different perspectives.
Somebody's seeking the right fit for a therapist. What kind of questions should they be asking? I mean, dare I say, interviewing, right?
Yes, for sure.
A therapist. What kind of questions should you be asking?
Yeah, it definitely can, be like an interview or like a first date. I always like to think of it that way. You're kind of like dating your therapist and kind of seeing like when I'm with them, do I feel comfortable? It's like what type of sense do you have when you're with them? But then in the terms of like a practical sense of questions, it's like um, you know, have you helped anyone with the concerns that I'm wanting to address? What is your perspective? Like, how do you typically work? It's like, what does a typical session look like? Um, those types of things can give you a better perspective on what it's like to actually do the work with that therapist.
Mhm.
And then I'm always a big proponent on asking about whether they offer consultations.
Mhm.
A lot of therapists will do like a 15-minute or 20-minute like phone call to say like, hey, or even a video chat as well, to be like, hey, like this is what it looks like to talk with me, get your questions answered. And if they offer that, definitely take them up on it, because I say that very quickly, probably within the first 10 to 15 minutes, you can know whether that is someone that you can open up to at some point in the future, or whether they're like, no, they're not for me.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That's great.
Yeah. Mhm.
Anything else you would really like to get out, Amber, in a video?
I would just say if you're thinking about whether, therapy is right for you, it definitely is. Everyone can benefit from therapy. There is no, I would say there's no stigma attached to it, but of course I'm a therapist, so my opinion is a little bit biased. Um, But for me, like as a therapist, as someone who values therapy themselves and who is actively in therapy now, um, I know the way that therapy has shaped my life and has helped improve my life. And I know that I would not be the same woman that I am today without it. And so, as cliche as it might be, it's like if you're looking for a sign, right, to get into therapy, this is it. Um, and there are plenty of resources out there, and it's just about giving yourself the opportunity to really thrive.
And how do you suggest somebody go about finding a therapist? Do they ask ChatGPT? Do they ask their physician? Like, where do they go?
Yeah. I mean, I'm hearing a lot about people like searching on ChatGPT and then therapists being recommended.
Do
But
we
there's
trust
also
ChatGPT for our
yes, definitely. But there's also different directories like Psychology Today, Therapy Den, Therapy for Black Girls. Like essentially, you can go ahead and type into Google what you're looking for, whether you're looking for somebody in person, online. Um, it's fairly simple, to find somebody nowadays. You may have to look through a couple of profiles in order to find the person that you are looking for, but there definitely are more than enough therapists out there that are able to help you.
I keep hearing that there's a therapist shortage. Is that what you're hearing as well, Amber?
Um, I would say that like post COVID, there's been a lot of therapists that have left the field. Um, but I know that there are a lot of therapists that are accepting clients. And right now, because we're in like that spring, like on the cusp of summer, this really is one of the most beneficial times, I would say, to really to get in there and do that work. Because if we think about like, even as like the seasons change, we're just in a space where we're just more open to that deep work. And so it's like, what a better time than now? And it's like just go ahead and get in there. Because there's therapists with availability.
Well, Amber, thanks so much for chatting with me for a few minutes about the importance of mental health and how we can all connect with our need to understand ourselves better and further every aspect of our life in that understanding.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I've really enjoyed being able to share some things with you and the rest of the Hera Hub community.